Brendan Schaub is a coward, and in today's video, I am going to tell you all why. He's quickly becoming one of the biggest laughingstocks on the internet.
I want him to bomb to be funny. And it's not, he's just bombing. Just bombing. Like.
Now is the time to buy in, guys, because it's only gonna get worse from here.
Pussy, 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 can't you see?
What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Tom Dark channel. I am your host, Tom Dark, and this is your other host, Joe Rogan, the host of the Joe Rogan podcast. The Joe Rogan podcast has given careers to a number of people who otherwise would likely not be regarded as funny or interesting individuals. People who manage to somehow start a series of podcasts and businesses and pretend to be comedians based solely off of the fact that they were featured on the Joe Rogan Experience, which in turn creates a career for them because of the massive reach and loyal audience of the program. I mean, hell, if Rogan likes someone, then they must be cool, right? Enter Brendan Schaub, a professional podcast host, mixed martial artist, and comedian.
You guys know I've watched some pretty bad stand-up comedy, but this was something else. This special was legitimately so bad that I had to watch it in 2 parts, and I sat through Amy Schumer's entire discography.
3 things he appears to be pretty bad at, and yet somehow he's respected by thousands of people around the world. Petty insults aside, I'm not here to point out everything that he's bad at or everything that sucks about this guy. If you've been exposed to Mr. Schaub, then I'm sure you know pretty much all of this already. Instead, today we'll be talking about the fact that he's kind of a coward who decided to silence a small YouTuber for making fun of him. And he actually ended up taking him to court, which is the reason Schaub is being talked about by a bunch of commentary adjacent channels right now. Now, before we get into all of this, it's worth noting that Schaub's fan base has sort of developed its own little subset of the internet dedicated to pretty much just mocking him relentlessly, bullying him. The name of his podcast, the one he's most well known for, is called The Fighter and the Kid, and this podcast subreddit is entirely dedicated to making fun of Schaub and all of his friends, despite it presumably being intended originally to be some kind of fan community hub for people who like his stuff. And this, in and of itself, is kind of a sign that someone is becoming a lol cow, so to speak. I think that would be the term we want to use here, considering the fact that the entire subreddit is currently role-playing like fry cooks while they make fun of him and have their own dedicated vocabulary and hyper-specific set of memes and culture. And yet, the community still has tons of active users. There are new people joining every day. It seems the fire is being fueled a lot here. They just have more and more content to talk about from his podcasts and the various exposés that have been conducted on him as of recent. There's even drama where the people on the sub are basically putting out rumors that he and his married friends are on Tinder or something like that, and the subreddit claims that people like Brendan Schaub and Chris D'Elia are basically pretending that there are people catfishing as them on Tinder to avoid personal responsibility over the fact that they are partaking in the Tinder hustle, okay? The Tinder grind set, the Tinder harvest, harvesting females on Tinder, that kind of thing.
Sure there is. I had someone reach out to me hey, can't believe you're on Tinder, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm not on Tinder. Then, you get DMs, and this girl goes, hey, just want you to know, there's some guy pretending to be you. He's lining up dates on Tinder.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not on Tinder. Obviously, I'm definitely not on Tinder.
Yeah. That's me.
If he's catfishing you, then
that's me just doing that.
I guarantee you there's a fake account and D'Elia account on there.
I don't know if, no, there have been. People have written me about it.
Now,
honestly, I have no idea how real this is, but, it could be, I guess. Now, the main subject of the video is the silencing of criticism, and the real story here is kind of hard to follow because the original videos associated with it, as well as the channel itself, have actually been wiped from the internet. It's actually hard to find full copies of them on YouTube right now. That being said, I did manage to find a pretty decent write-up about it here, and I'm basically going to go over what they said here and then give my thoughts and commentary on all of it. I'll also link it down below as it was pretty well done, so, let's get into it. Brendan Schaub has had the most interesting career trajectory. Notwithstanding his meteoric rise in popularity and exposure in the last few years, Schaub's star has fallen drastically in recent months. Once the host of 2 Showtime podcasts, he's now struggling to make ends meet on his newly founded network, Thick Boy. What a gay name, by the way. Why would you name anything Thick Boy? Is it 2014? Or maybe that was more of a 2015, 16 thing. I don't know. Just you're like a grown man, Mr. Schaub. You're a grown man, grown adult MMA fighter. Don't name something Thick Boy, okay? On this YouTube housed network, Schaub currently features podcasts from various supporting characters in the Fighter and the Kid universe, his original podcast. In addition to hosting a reboot of Joe Rogan's Fight Companion podcast titled Calabasas Fight Companion, Joe Rogan is not involved. The only redeeming factor for his network in terms of numbers is the said fight companion, and this is mostly due to Schaub's heavy reliance on canceled comedian Chris D'Elia to prop up his numbers. Prior to getting canceled over Snapchats and DMs sent to various minors, D'Elia had a burgeoning acting career in addition to his multiple YouTube channels, 581,000 subscriptions. But the community of those who do not like Schaub just keeps growing. A subreddit dedicated to his oldest venture, the podcast The Fighter and the Kid, has more than doubled in size since June of 2020. Filled with MMA fans and those just interested in the podcast, it's mostly dedicated to posting various gaffes Schaub makes day in and day out of podcasting. Without the patronage of Joe Rogan, Schaub is often forced to reinvent the wheel in order to gin up interest in his brand. However, pivoting from one controversial take to another can lead to unintended, if not sometimes comical, results. In the latest example of contradictory positions, in spite of heaping praise at Spotify's anti-woke CEO last month, Schaub has repeatedly attempted to censor a small YouTube channel dedicated to reacting to his own content. Recently, a creator named Uniqueness lost his main channel, Uniqueness, thanks to copyright strikes he has received from Schaub, and is now being sued. During a 3-minute video on his new channel, the creator shared some bits from the lawsuit filed by Thick Boy Productions. He is reportedly being sued for copyright infringement. The channel, Uniqueness, has reportedly been struck after posting a video of Schaub exchanging a phone number with a young lady. While this infraction is nothing compared to the trouble his comedian buddies got into, Schaub is currently married and has 2 kids. So I mean, it seems like what we have here is that basically the whole Tinder meme from the beginning of the video was not such a meme after all. Schaub is married and has kids and yet is also trying to be unfaithful to his wife and got careless with it. And it got plastered all over social media. And now that people are finding out he's trying to do damage control in the entire situation and like fix it all, he's removing their videos and he's taking this guy to court. Which at the end of the day, I mean, his motivation for it makes sense at least. He's not like an insane person. That doesn't justify what he's doing, obviously. But if that's the way he wants to go, then like what else can I say? The guy is just an insecure scumbag who got caught in 4K and is now silencing anyone talking about it. I don't really know a lot about Schaub, so maybe I'm talking out of my ass here, but anytime I've seen like videos of him, he kind of comes across to me as a douche. He comes across as kind of a major bully, so I guess it's not that surprising to me that he would do something like this, but it's definitely disappointing to see another YouTuber abusing copyright law to silence their critics. Schaub's sudden need for image control through the court process comes less than a month after a female comedian posted a clip about an unnamed comedian who is bad at comedy, suggesting she service him sexually by accompanying him to his truck. While still unverified, there is rampant speculation in the subreddit that he may be said unnamed comedian. And this clip out there is actually in the wild and it's gotten quite a few views on YouTube. So I'm gonna play the clip here that everyone is speculating on.
That was like, why don't you walk me to my truck, this married guy, where I'm like, and we know him, I'm not gonna say who it is, but he's like, why don't you give me a walk, why don't you you should walk me to my truck. I'm like, so what, I can blow you? Like what?
Wait,
like,
who was it? Oh.
But it's just like, it's like, why would I?
Wait, I love that we have the same people that
the same ones come
want us to walk for you. Oh, he came for me so hard, and we know his chick.
And like the thing that I think is like at least a little
Esther,
bit better. The fact, Esther, he's coming for you. Don't worry.
It's just crazy.
Now that you washed your hair, maybe.
Esther,
now that you washed your hair.
On New Year's Eve, while he was having dinner with his family, he was like, "What are you doing tonight?"
This year?
Maybe 3 years ago. He was like, "What are you doing tonight?" I was like,
now once again, I don't know if this is like real. I don't know if he actually did this, but I guess it would line up with the other 2 incidents regarding the unfaithfulness, meaning the Tinder thing and the incident where he tried to pick up some like random chick and got caught for it. And now I guess he wants to cover it up so that his family can't see. Now, before we judge Schaub for his litigation, it's fair to mention that he's just doing what he's always done, copying Joe Rogan, albeit unsuccessfully. Joe Rogan has been carefully curating his image for years by copyright striking selected content. While Rogan doesn't mind typical commentary, he is more than capable of ending a certain narrative. This was once done when Brendan Schaub asserted he, Rogan, was slanging dick. Schaub's aggressive escalation of the situation by filing a lawsuit appears to be cynically calculated. A creator going through the copyright dispute process would take more than 30 days, during which time the channel remains taken down and suspended. In other words, the clips would completely lose their relevance. Not to mention, YouTube specifically has a new mechanism to allow a creator to be put on notice of a potential claim, whereupon the creator has the option to try to resolve the issue amicably with the claimant. Going from being a champion of free speech to a litigious plaintiff looking to protect their brand rather than uphold the sanctity of copyright cannot bode well for the Brandon Schaub brand. The notion of Schaub copyright striking content is especially funny, considering that the Fighter and the Kid podcast constantly provides commentary to other mainstream videos and articles. So it looks like the guy is just a massive hypocrite. I mean, basically every podcaster has to react to a bunch of content, right? Articles, videos, content that's already created, because that's what you do when you're on a podcast. You comment on the world. It's kind of the process of, you know, reacting to things. It's what I do. It's the core of internet content at the end of the day. And Schaub apparently has no respect for that when it's inconvenient for him. And this is all made especially funny because if you go through any clips of Schaub talking about this stuff, you know he's a big part of the Joe Rogan crowd. And one of the key tenets, the key talking points of the intellectual dark web ideology, you know, Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, whatever, all those guys, is to stand up for freedom of speech. To say that freedom of speech is the most important right we have because it allows us to discuss ideas that people in power may want to censor. And that everyone, no matter how despicable they may be on paper, should have a right to do and say whatever they please without repercussions. And Brendan Schaub is a member of this unofficial club that has collected around the JRE podcast, is also someone who has said, hey, comedy is good. You can make jokes about anyone. Free speech is important. It's truly an important right for us to have as Americans. But apparently, when it becomes inconvenient for him, when it has become like inconvenient for him to prop up this value, he's ultimately abandoned it for exchange for taking a YouTuber to court for making fun of him and criticizing him for things that he did. Like, the guy has no one to blame but himself for looking like a dumbass and like trying to pick up some random girl when he's married with kids. And now that he's being made fun of for it, he's trying to like go after this YouTuber who didn't do anything wrong. He just like did what the internet does and makes fun of people. Now, this situation is blowing up quite a bit right now. Optimist did a video about it, Critical or Charlie also did a video about it. And it seems like Schaub is getting a lot of criticism from a lot of sides of the internet right now, with more and more people becoming aware of his status as sort of like a weird mix of an MMA and comedy world lolcow. He's really the epitome of like the Joe Rogan community figure, the Joe Rogan disciple who has been propped up by Joe himself. And unfortunately, in the end, Schaub turned out to not be that great of a guy. Having a comedian that can't take jokes is like having a politician that hates lying. A comedian trying to get jokes censored just tells everyone he's not a comedian without saying he's not a comedian. Ironically, this might be the funniest thing Brendan has ever done. I mean, the entire comment section here of this video is basically relentlessly roasting this guy and shitting all over his fucking career. And the video has more than 2 million views, so there is a ton of heat on him right now.
I want to quickly hit you with the cliff notes on why you should care about this situation and why it's a big deal. There's an absolutely awful comedian named Brendan Schaub who is currently suing a small YouTuber over jokes they made about him. Also worth noting that YouTuber lost both of their channels, perhaps because of Schaub, though that's still alleged. If it's true though, then Brendan just gave him the quarter pounder with cheese. Got the double whammy in there.
Ultimately, where this story will go is unknown. As for the results of the lawsuit, I'm not going to claim to be a legal expert or anything like that. I do know about some precedents that have been set in fair use cases just from like doing videos on YouTube for so long. So if I had to guess, like basically any case that Schaub could bring to this guy, as long as the guy like made some change to the content he was posting, then he's going to win. We've seen in cases like H3H3 where ultimately fair use prevailed because there was like a reaction being added. And even in the case of Sargon of Akkad, where he was basically just like remixing clips and making them into their own video without adding his own voice or anything. Like, it was all like one person's content, but Sargon just like made his own like clip little compilation of it. Even that was deemed to be fair use. So ultimately, Schaub will probably lose in court if he's going for like the copyright angle. But as I said, I'm not a legal expert, so who knows how any of this will really turn out in the end. If there is an update to it or more Brendan Schaub material to go through, then I'm open to doing a video about it. As always, I love to have a good laugh, but I have genuinely no idea just how this story is going to play out in the following days. For the majority of this, we'll just have to kind of wait and see. What I can definitely say is this: if Schaub does not back off of this lawsuit, then it is likely the YouTube community and the broader internet as a whole will continue looking into his story, picking him apart, and pull out some of the most interesting pieces of information and funniest parts to continue laughing at him. With every mistake and fuck up, the subreddit dedicated to posting memes about him and making fun of him will undoubtedly become even more popular and influential. And it may not be long before things reach the very top of the pyramid, and you have people who are more popular and even closer to his ring, his circle of success, beginning to call him out. It's kind of a situation where you have the Streisand Effect in full effect. The more you try to hide something, the more you try to push something down, the more people are curious about it, the more people like look into it. And eventually I think Schaub will probably have like kind of a crisis on his hands in the online world because so many people will be fucking making fun of him. Anyway, that's really all I have to say for today. So I'm going to bring this video to a close. If you guys liked the video, be sure to leave a like. If you disliked it, leave a dislike on it. And if you have any thoughts on all of this or Brendan Schaub, if you have any more Brendan Schaub lore to share, then be sure to leave it in the comment section below. It's always good to hear what you guys have to say. I have to say, I've been enjoying things online a little more lately. It feels good to be posting videos consistently again. I definitely feel like these weird like internet drama situations are picking back up again in interest to me. So yeah. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next video real soon. Bye.